So this is an image that some of you might have seen in LinkedIn, right? So the reality of an online student recruiter is that you have a lot of choice, and it's not always a good thing, because on which platforms are you going to be visible? That's really a big question. And I mean, there's a few things I want to say about it today. So the first thing is that there's no right way. So you could probably make it work in a number of different ways, and what works for you will be subject to testing. So you want to definitely track what works for you in terms of what can really drive enrollments at the end of the whole process. And about that, Hakan will talk more in the second part of this presentation, right? So you want to look at what works for you, and based on that, you want to perhaps put more effort on things that work out really well for you. But then again, I mean, and this is even only a subset of the possibilities that you would have, right? So it may make sense to have a bit of a framework of assessing, like, what should I be focusing on now as an additional idea, because there's no way you're going to be able to test all of these things and do them really well as well. So I'll first be sharing how you could get started with campaigns if you're really starting out from scratch, right? And this picture is also part of my book. So you'll see in the top there is search, and then you have broad outreach campaigns, and you have early outreach campaigns. And these campaign types vary based on two dimensions. So first is how far are people before their actual decision of enrollment, right? And the second dimension is, are these people already very clear about what program they want? And then you see that search is kind of the campaign type where you'll capture people who are already very clear about the kind of course that they're looking for, the kind of program, and they're using explicit search queries to find programs like yours. So and then when they do that, they tend to be fairly close to enrollment. So it's a relatively small group, but it's a group that you could actually hope to enroll within a year. So search campaigns, we could show the different platforms. I would consider Bing, Google, but also study portal sites to be part of search, right? It's really a very direct channel. But then search will only reach those people who are already searching either for your institution's name or for the course or subject name. And that's only a very small subset of the potential of students who might be interested and who might be a good fit with you. So that's where broad outreach and early outreach come in. And that would be basically all the other portals. And I mean, again, this is only a subset. And you might wonder, like, what does Pinterest do here? But if you are in a fashion school, for example, it may make perfect sense to be very, very dominantly present on Pinterest. So you have a very broad choice here of which platform to choose to tell your story and make people interested in finding out more. And eventually people might come to your website, or they might start searching for your program name because you've planted the idea in their mind. And that's one way to broaden the audience that you're talking to, and so sort of have a bigger net to go fishing. All right. So a couple of examples, just to be clear that we're all on the same page. So if search, I would consider the top results that you see here as paid search. So those are Google search ads. And below you see an organic search result, which is really not paid for per click, but just the website that Google considers the most relevant match for hospitality management degree in Spain. When we're talking about study portal websites, then some people may go to the study portal websites themselves, but a lot of times study portal websites have very major high rankings in the search results, and people will click on those rankings, and then you're sort of, if you're paying to be on the top result page for a keystone in this case, then you're sort of also renting their presence in the search engine. So it's sort of another way of getting more exposure to the same group of people who is actually very likely to sign up with you in the short term. And then this would be an example of a paid outreach ad. So this particular one is an ad from London School of Economics, and they are very directly sort of pitching a program and getting people to click, and hoping that they will check out the website. The tricky thing here is that people this screenshot was taken off Facebook. People, when they're in their Facebook feed, they're not that much into exploration mode, so it's harder to expect for them to immediately start engaging with you, and you might need to balance with having more of a storytelling approach to gain people's attention. And this is another example also from London School of Economics for organic outreach. Which is really a more long-term game, right? So when you have webinars, including prominent people, talk about relevant subjects that are also relevant for your university, then that builds up the reputation of your school. And it kind of engages an audience that hears about you and again and again. And over time, they may develop the interest to learn more about what your institution has to offer. And of course, we're not all London School of Economics, so don't think that because we can't get these kind of very prominent speakers that you can't do it. You would have some professors perhaps, or students who are very well spoken, who have a good story to tell. And you can play this game at whatever level you are at in getting the word out and giving people a feel of what it's like to be part of your community. Now, consistency is super important to build momentum. Some of you I've seen here in our previous webinar, so that kind of speaks to the same thing. And you also have to really keep in mind that everything you put out there is of a consistently high quality, and over time you will build an audience with that. So to recap that, so you basically have search campaigns and you have outreach campaigns, and then you have organic and paid types of campaigns. So the paid campaigns would be Google Ads and portal listings. The organic ones would be search engine optimization, any listings that are free on the portal, and also you could have YouTube videos. YouTube is sort of a bit of a crossover because YouTube in itself is also a search engine. It's actually the second search engine in the world. So if you have a keyword optimized YouTube video, then you could consider it search. Then on the outreach side, you could think about ads basically anywhere, right? You could put ads in a lot more places than I put down here. And organic outreach would be really your social media profiles and feeds, blogging, events, PR, any way that you get your message out where it's not a paid way of spreading the message. And how do these types of campaigns differ in several ways? So first of all, the audience size and the temperature of the type of people you get to reach is different. With paid search, it's a very small audience, but they're red hot. They're really looking for the program you have. The main appeal is these people are further in their process of deciding and are more likely to sign up fairly soon. If you go to organic search, then the audience is not as hot, because with organic search you can actually be visible for a much broader range of keywords. Like, for example, if you're a Finnish university, it could be that you might be visible about like what are the what is it like to study in Finland, for example, if you have a blog post about that. But you can't expect the same kind of reaction as when someone is searching for a business management bachelor in Finland. But then there are more people searching for that, so longer term you reach more people. Then there is paid outreach, which the people are stone cold, but you get to pick exactly who gets to see it. So you can actually, if you need in your mix of new students, you need to have more women, or you want to reach out to very specific countries, you get to pick, but you'll have to work harder on actually warming up these people to you. You can't expect them to just go to the course page and then start asking questions and eventually signing up. And finally, organic outreach is even potentially bigger than paid outreach. I mean, okay, that will be up for discussion, but there, due to the nature of the messages you have, you're going to attract people who resonate with your messaging. So in that sense, they are warmer. But in another sense, like it may take longer to develop that kind of audience, because you're not going to get any support from Facebook or LinkedIn to push your message. You have to really play it only off the strength of the message that you have. So in terms of the time frame before people enroll, let's just put them together. For paid, it could be within a year. Organic search, it would be 1 to 3 years, depending also on the kind of keywords that they find you with. Then paid outreach would be over a year at least, and organic outreach might be 2 to 5 years. I mean, I would consider organic outreach could also be reaching out to parents, or even going to secondary schools, for example, to present what you have to offer. And this can really make a very big difference in 5 years' time, but you can't expect any results from it within 1 year time. All right, so the tone of your messaging is also very different depending on the challenge, on the channel. So I have put examples here. For paid, it must be very direct. So this is actually a campaign I'm running for a client right now. Someone who searches for Learn Japanese Singapore, they are really looking for a course, and I want to tell them exactly what they can expect when they click and why they should sign up. Don't waste their time, don't put anything, don't make them think, just give them very straightforward, what you expect them to do. Then if you go to organic search, you still, depending a little bit on the keyword, right? This page ranks for things like English course Singapore, Learn English Singapore, etc. And what we do is we just very straightforwardly explain to people what the types of courses are, so that people can click on the link that's relevant for them, right? Do they want to learn business English, or do they want to first take a level test? We want to give them a few options so that they can move on with their journey. Then the paid outreach, you could pay to get your advertisement in front of a lot of people. And some of you might have seen this. It's an ad that I ran in the past month, particularly in Malaysia and in France, where I offer my book for free download. So if you are my relevant audience, then you would be interested in my book, and you would be willing to find out more. But I'm not expecting anyone to immediately sign up for a course. I want them to take the first step and get to know me. It's one thing to get seen by a lot of people, but typically if you don't provide a very strong hook to your ads, you're not going to get a lot out of it immediately. Maybe people will click, but they will forget about you unless you offer them something of value early on that they are willing to consider. And then finally, outreach would need to be all the more fun and engaging and rapport building in its tone, because here, why would LinkedIn want to share this message? It wants to share this message because it has to provide content to people who are on LinkedIn. And it will only look at whether the content can engage people. You're not paying LinkedIn to show the message, so you really have to get LinkedIn to see that this is high quality content, or it won't actually work. And also, you will only reach your own network, and you wouldn't reach people who don't know you yet. So then the final sort of dimension to compare these types of campaigns on would be the cost that you pay per result. And for paid, it's actually quite high. It is immediate, but you keep paying for every click. So as long as the paid search campaign runs, you're going to funnel a fairly significant part of your marketing budget into it, which could be justified, especially when you're just starting out. You may need to get that first batch going, for example. So it may be justified, but it's fairly high generally. Then for organic search, the cost per result is low. However, you can't control it as easily. Like, you have to invest a significant amount of time and effort in getting your organic search set up and having the right content on your website. But once you've done that, then it will keep working for you for the next few years. Then paid outreach is again fairly high cost channel, whereas organic outreach would be a lower cost channel. But the same thing goes if so you need to look at what mix you're going to have of campaigns. It's not that one is better than the other. It depends on what situation that you are in. And if your program is new and you have very little credibility yet, then you have to really emphasize on portals so that you're visible on search engines, and just make sure that anyone who's in the market for that kind of program knows about you and knows why they should choose your program. But then it would be a mistake to keep doing that in the years after that. You want to slowly put the weight more on the organic leg, so to say, so that you can actually build up your reputation and gradually increase the brand awareness about your program, and also save budget, I guess, or use it in a more effective way. And I would say it's very much like starting a fire, right? So you don't start a fire by holding like a lighter under a big log and then hoping that the big log will catch fire. You need some paper or some wood chips or whatever kind of kindling, and you light that. But then at the same time, if you want to have like a nice campfire for many hours, you don't keep adding paper to it. It's like you'll be running like crazy and it won't give you any real warmth. So when you go to organic search, those would be considered the larger pieces of wood, and organic outreach are really the big logs that could keep you going for a long time, because it really contains a lot more energy over time. And in all of these channels, it's important. I mean, we're talking about channels today, so I won't say that much about it, but it's important to remember that the message comes first. If you don't consider the message, then it doesn't really matter what channel you are going to use, because your story doesn't resonate. It won't resonate on LinkedIn. It will also won't resonate on Facebook or on Google Ads or wherever. So you need to know what your students are looking for and what you can offer, what you can credibly claim, and what you can help people with, what your place is in the world. And that's the first step. And then, so these are some things to keep in mind when you're thinking about your message. So who are your ideal students? Is it really you're talking to? And the message, so what should they care? Why should they care about you and not about, say, the competitor? So what makes you different? It's not about, I see a lot of ads that will say, oh, we offer business courses. We are a great business school with great networking opportunities. And you know what? Every business school has great networking opportunities, but why should I come to you and not to, one of those other business schools?